Northampton, a large town situated directly in the middle of the UK, with a town centre crammed to the brim with almost every footwear shop imaginable. And now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for... But Northampton has had more history with shoes and boots than simply having a lot of shops. These boots are gonna walk all over you. But how many people are actually aware of it?
Why is Northampton good for shoes?
I've got an answer. There's a shoe museum here and factories.
Well, we're famous for making our shoes because we've always made shoes. That's what Northampton's known for. That's why our football team's called the Cobblers. Because cobblers are known for making shoes.
Mainly because they sell all brands.
Because there's a shoe factory in Northampton.
Well, that's years ago. That's what all up there. That was all shoe factories. That was when I was a kid. But they're all closed down. They buy them from China now, don't they?
Changing the subject, let's watch a heel being attached. Quick work, wasn't it? All the operations are swift, but they're very sure too. This is a clever machine. It pulls the uppers onto the last, ready for the welt to be sewn on by another machine.
Once the town was actually the shoemaking capital of the UK. In fact, Northampton's history, for the most part, has always been heavily entwined with that of the shoe industry. Even before the town was renowned for shoemaking, it was already supplying footwear to royalty. In 1213, King John once bought a pair of shoes for the equivalent of 4p, and later his son, Henry III, purchased 150 pairs of shoes from Northampton. During the British Civil War, Oliver Cromwell commissioned 13 shoemakers to produce 600 pairs of boots and 4,000 pairs of shoes for the Roundheads. This established the town's reputation for footwear craftsmanship. Between 1801 and 1831, the population of the town doubled. This was due to the shoe industry mass-producing boots for the Napoleonic Wars. At the time, 1 in every 3 men were shoemakers. In 1905, 5 times the amount of shoemakers worked in the workshops rather than in the factories. In 1921, Northampton was host to 54 footwear producing establishments, the largest concentration in the UK. And during the Second World War, 1 out of every 3 pairs of shoes used by the British Army came from Northamptonshire. But why did all the shoe businesses and factories locate here in the first place?
I don't actually know.
I don't know why.
Because I suppose it's central to England, isn't it? Good road works and good railway works, So that's what you should imagine that was. I don't know.
If you look where we are stationed, yeah, in England, in Midlands. So from there you can branch out from the whole country. And going back them days, it was all narrowboats and that stuff, and then when you got to lorries and that, it's cheaper because you're centralised. If you think about it, it's just economy, isn't it? It's just money. Yeah. Think about it, it's taxes. So that's just another reason why I reckon they've done it, the shoe industry took off in Northampton like that.
The town also has easy access to 3 of the raw materials used to make leather. The large number of cattle in the Nene Valley provided the hides. The River Nene itself provided water to clean them, and the oak trees in the area were used to make the tanning solution into which the hides were dipped in. These days, the factories are silent, and many people are not aware of their history.
We have factories that design shoes.
Yeah, do you know any?
Oh no, sorry.
No. I don't really know any where the shoe factories are.
So, what actually happened to the shoe industry here? The introduction of synthetic materials to shoemaking and more advanced transportation methods rendered Northampton's greatest strengths. Its central location and raw materials obsolete, allowing the major shoe companies to relocate abroad.
It's all this imported from China, Taiwan, cheap crap.
Cheaper wages, everything. It's all down to money at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You want to spend £15, you'll get a pair of cheap shoes, which is virtually The heel, what we do all the work on, is plastics, and they're hollow, and they're a nightmare to do, but we will do them. Or they're a rubber plastic mix. You can fill it virtually with that much. So when they walk level. If not, the toes will point up to the ceiling, and that's when it pulls on the lady's calf muscles. So that can cause them damage, so you must get it level. Just a normal standard heel. We'll place it on there and put it on. So I'm just going to glue it up.
And the loss of the factories, one of the main sources of employment, affected many in the town.
My father was a bedlaster and my mother was working in the finishing room, both at Phillips's shoe factory. During the war years, he had been discharged from the army with illness. He became a government inspector of footwear, going around the factories and actually stamping the footwear with his small stamp to say that they came up to the quality that the government required. When the war ended, he opened a small family business in the Grove in Kettering called the Classy Footwear Service. I joined my father when I was 15 years old. At that time, he himself had become a market trader selling mainly reject footwear, clearance lines from the shoe factories that he had once been an inspector in. A great amount of my energy and my father's energy, other than running the other part of the business with my brothers, was clearing or going to sales of shoe factories, one after the other. And I also remember sitting one day at the table, talking to my father, and quite frankly, we were doing very well, if you want to know, financially. I mean, for a little family business, we were. But what were we doing well with? The destruction of an industry. And I always remember saying, we did well today, Dad. He said, we didn't do well, boy. He says, they'll never be there again.
However, is there still something of the shoe industry in Northampton? Outside of the museum, that is.
But, you know, all the quality shoes, they still make some quality. Churches, you heard of churches?
Yeah.
They're you know, the top firm, you know, in the world, they are, for shoes.
Got to Martins, I know that's still running. They make their shoes here.
Basically, there's 6 Timpsons in Northampton now. So,
is that more than average?
Oh yeah, it's more than average, yeah. It's a lot more than average. Average town is 3, so we're actually on double now.
So it's like equivalent of like a city?
Yeah, I mean London we've got 12, so it's in between sort of thing. You're talking about Milton Keynes sort of thing. I mean there's only 4 in Milton Keynes. You've got churches, loads. I mean churches are expanding now because people are realising cheap shoes hopefully are a false economy. Because you can have a pair of church shoes and they'll last you 25 years. I've got a customer who comes in and literally I do his shoes for him and they've lasted him 25 years and they look like brand new. And a lot of people, even to this day, still remember, oh, I used to work down there, I used to work there. I get people coming in, oh yeah, I remember there's still the old machine. I mean, that machine's 35 years old.
Not all of the factories have left. Some have stayed behind and are still producing footwear to this day. And even the abandoned factories and warehouses are being repurposed for other uses. Although Northampton may no longer be the shoemaking capital of the UK, its legacy is still strong, if not widely known. From manufacturing boots and shoes for the armed forces, the town acquired a reputation for quality that persists to this day. Although new technologies and cheaper labour overseas resulted in many of the factories moving away, those that remain keep the reputation alive. Most of the factories may have left, but the industry will always stay. And certainly the shoes aren't going anywhere.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Are you ready, Boots? Start walking.